Today I will show you how you can increase your credit score by up to 100 points in detail in a short time frame. If you pay attention to these steps that I did, you should go from this all the way to this. In order to accomplish this, you must first know how your credit score is calculated. So your credit score is calculated by these 5 areas: 10% amount of new credit, 10% credit mix, 15% length of credit history, 30% utilization or amount of debt, and then 35% is your payment history. And I want to ask everybody out there watching this video, do you have control over these things? And the answer should be yes. You have total control over these areas. So now I'm going to take a deep dive into breaking all of this down, as it is critical to understand exactly what goes into the calculation of your credit score. Because if you don't know what it entails, you're bound to make mistakes, just like I did. So as I said earlier, 10% amount of new credit is calculated against you. So the number of new inquiries, how many credit applications you have applied for. So the more credit you apply for, the more number of inquiries you're going to have on your credit report. Also, what calculates into this 10% amount of new credit is the time since your newest account was opened. So if you opened up a new credit card, applied for a new credit card and were approved 2 months ago, that would be your newest account opened. Next up, we have 10% credit mix. So what does this consist of? Bank issued credit cards, installment loans, revolving accounts. So how many credit cards do you have reporting on your credit report? How many installment loans do you have? This could be auto loans. This could be student loans. This could be mortgage payments and revolving accounts. The totality of all the accounts that are reporting to your credit report. Next, we have 15% length of credit history. So what ties into this? The average age of your accounts and the age of your oldest account. So how this is calculated is the oldest account that you have reporting on your credit report all the way to your most current account. And they calculate that and they average it out over those years. That's what your average age of accounts come out to be. Next up, we are getting into utilization and amount of debt. So here's where the heavy hitters start to come in right here. So 30% of this is calculated against your credit report. So the number of accounts with balances. This is the total amount of accounts that are reporting on your credit report that have balances. It could be student loans, auto loans, credit cards, anything that's showing a balance. Also, total amount owed on open-ended and revolving accounts. So what open-ended and revolving accounts are, again, student loans, auto loans, credit card payments, anything that is owed. And then lastly, the percentage of your revolving balances to your revolving credit limits. So how this calculation is made is whatever your total credit limit is on all your revolving accounts, your credit cards. What is the percentage of credit that you are actually using out of those limits on your credit cards? And this is where the utilization comes in and becomes important. If you have $10,000 worth of credit limit given out to you and you're using 9,000 of that, you're going to be at 90% utilization, which would be very, very high. Next up, we have 35% payment history. So this entails how many 30-day lates do you have reporting on your credit report? How many 60+ day lates do you have reporting on your credit report? Do you have any derogatory public records? Do you have any collections? All of these negative items will drastically bring your credit score down. And I will show you examples later on as we go. Also included in this calculation, what is your most recent late payment? Percentage of accounts paid as agreed, 30+ day late payments in the past year, as well as 30+ day late payments older than a year. So the older payments that you've missed on will hurt you less than the more current ones. Anything that's current will hurt you drastically more than accounts negative and older on your reports. Step number 2, Monitor all of your credit reports. So a key step is you will want to get a copy of your credit reports. How can you do this? You can go to annualcreditreport.com, which gives you a free credit report from each bureau. I have included the link in the description. Credit reports, free annual, gives you access into all of your credit reports. So the three major credit reporting bureaus are Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. So why is it important to monitor your credit reports? The reason is because they may contain negative information on them. And actually, most of them do contain negative information on them. Collections, late payments, and any incorrect information. These negatives will keep your score low. You do have the right to dispute inaccurate information. You can do this online through disputes with all of the credit bureaus. However, I do not advise this in most instances. If it is an address or a job removal, yes, do it online very quick. For collections and late payments, I would not use the online disputing. I have utilized mail-in disputing letters and goodwill letters, which were very, very successful for me. I have another video in which I will detail that whole process. So let me know so far if you like this video and you're getting value. Please click that like button and subscribe button if not already subscribed. It is very much appreciated. Step number 3, pay down your balances. You will want to make sure you understand what your credit reporting dates are. These will be the credit payment due dates, and also extremely important is the statement closing date, almost more important than the actual credit payment date, in my opinion. The credit payment due date is the date when you should make the minimum payment due on. If possible, you should make more than the minimum payment due. I always plan to pay the full balance off. The statement closing date is the day your credit card balance reports to the three credit bureaus, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. I missed a payment recently by 2 days, and I was able to catch it before the statement closing date reported. So I was able to avoid a late payment being reported to my account. This is why it is critical to understand what your statement closing date is. And you want to make sure that you pay down your balances and keep that utilization low before the statement closing reporting date. This is very important. Do not use the credit card after paying the balance in full a day or two before the reporting date. If you do this, you will not have the balance paid in full because it will be reporting. So if you don't know what or when the reporting date is, here is how the statement closing date looks like on Amex, PenFed, and Navy Federal accounts. This first example shows you Amex, where the closing date can be located on the actual app. This next example is from PenFed, and it shows you where the statement closing date is located at. And then lastly, here is how it looks on Navy Federal. The statement closing date you can see with the red arrow. Very important to know where those dates are and what they are. So next, I'm going to show you that paying your balance down will lower your utilization on your card. And I'm going to show you some examples of this. If you pay it down, you will see an increase in your credit score very quickly. Within a 30-day period, you will see the increase when the card actually reports to the credit bureaus. So if you look at these examples on this page, you can see that the balances were paid down $1,044, and you can see the increase of the credit score plus 30 points, plus 10 points by paying down the balance. And you can see the Experian at the bottom when the balance decreased. So again, keeping that utilization low, paying down the balance, increased the score on Experian 73 points, up to 733. And that's why it's so important to pay your balances down. Step number 4, keep your utilization low. And that sounds like I'm a broken record throughout this video, but I can't put that much emphasis on that, enough emphasis on that. You must keep your utilization low. So my FICO talks about keeping utilization low and not to go over 50%. However, it can be very easy to get into trouble with utilization. You want to know why? Because oftentimes we have limits that are small on our credit cards. For instance, if you have a card that is $300, like I do, one of them, a Credit One, Capital One, Indigo, You run a huge risk of being over 50% with just 1 or 2 purchases. So my Indigo card charged the annual fee of $99. Now I'm at, a huge amount of spend at 33% spend just with 1 purchase. So you can't do much else after that without getting to 50% utilization, which is where you do not want to be. That will temporarily decrease your score. And on this page, you can see what My FICO talks about. They talk about for FICO high achievers, the average ratio is less than 7%. So they're talking about utilization rate is less than 7%. However, I try to keep mine optimized between 1% and 4% when possible. I also advise to keep balances at 0 as much as possible. So if you have 3 or more cards showing a balance, this could affect your credit score. And last but not least, I have some bonuses for everybody. Keep all your accounts current and paid. If you have car notes, mortgages, rent, whatever it is, pay that. Review your credit report if you want to access what the credit bureaus see. This is very important. Any lates that you have will damage your score dramatically. If you have any negative items on your credit report, do the work to have them removed. I will be doing another video on this topic and using what I've actually done to remove those negative items. The steps that I took, and I did it all myself. It was totally legal, and it was pretty much free, basically. So I got some examples of when you actually miss a payment. Here's what can happen to your credit score. You can see these examples on this page when you miss a payment, when you have a late payment. This example is what happens when you have a $300 credit card and increase your utilization just by $53. You can see the score went down to, it went down 18 points. And you know what, man, those scores are really, really terrible. My credit was really, really terrible at one point. I came a long way. Let me know what your thoughts are and questions are in the comment section below. Are you in need of increasing your credit score? Do you need to have negative items removed? Thank you for taking the time out to watch this video. I hope you were able to gain some value from this. If so, please share, like, comment, subscribe. Talk to you later.